All right, Bernie. Coming to the close of the season, we got to start giving some predictions for some kind of accolades, awards for the season. I think the big one we haven't talked about yet, predictions for the first team All-NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good kind of indicator of, you look back on that season, you see the 5 players on the All-NBA team, and you kind of know what the landscape of the NBA was that season.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give it a go. Who are you going to start with?
All right. Obviously, number 1 is going to be James Harden.
Of course.
He's had an MVP caliber type of season now. He's been playing better than he has been since he became a Rocket player.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to D'Antoni helping him out in the system that he's in, it's creating this new type of, I don't know what to call it, like more aroma or the sense of James Harden is ready to take the throne as trying to become one of the best 2 guards in the NBA.
Yeah, in NBA history, honestly, he's starting to get there. Obviously I'm gonna go James Harden too, and I think the biggest reason I want to pick James Harden and just like his MVP season, which it is at this point, it is all but guaranteed he's gonna win. The last few seasons, it felt like the Rockets were like mentally weak when it came to clutch time moments or just big moments in the season. This season, that's just gone, right? When they play like the biggest games, it feels like they know they're there and they want it way more than they have in the past. And that all stems from James Harden. Seems like his confidence is at an absolute all-time high.
Yeah.
Like, if you go look at that Celtics game they played, they should have lost that game, but they were just, like, in it to win it in the last couple minutes. James Harden. I'll go next. My second pick, I got to pick LeBron.
Yeah.
Having one of his best seasons, probably his best offensive season he's ever had in his 15th year. It's incredible. Like, we haven't had a chance to talk about his basically perfect game the other night. That's the best game of basketball offensively I've ever seen anybody play. And it wasn't like he only put up 35 points, but he was unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, just like you have to go LeBron James too. I think James Harden and LeBron James are the obvious ones for obvious reasons. As you know, LeBron James is averaging more points, more assists, and more rebounds per game than his career average, which is already impressive enough.
Yeah.
And the way that he's shooting the ball right now at a 36%, which is, it's close to being average, but it's still good enough to where I'm not worried about him.
Yeah.
Shooting it, his shot has gotten much impressively better throughout his whole career. The other thing is, the only thing that I have to say about LeBron James is that his field goal percentage is up, but the only thing I'm still worried about is the free throws, which has always been a knock against him. But other than that, LeBron James is having one of his best offensive seasons I think I've ever seen from LeBron James. I mean, that could be at the expense of his defense, which has been lack thereof.
Yeah, he might just not care, honestly, and that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Especially with the Kevin Love lineups.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when playoffs come and see if he steps it up there. But other than that, LeBron James has been having, like I said, his best season ever, so that's why he's definitely going to be on the All-NBA team, for sure.
Definitely. Who's your next pick?
My next pick, I'm going to go with a surprising one. I don't know if a lot of people would have him, but I'm going to go with Damian Lillard.
I like that pick.
I think the reason why I'm going Damian Lillard is because this year, Steph Curry's had a lot of ankle injuries, a lot of knee issues, so this obviously could disqualify him a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chris Paul would be another shout, but he missed a good chunk of the season at the beginning of it, so that's the reason why I'm going to go with Damian Lillard there. He's obviously playing his best basketball that he has been. If we look at his stats real quick, averaging 26 a game, 6.5 assists. I mean, everything else is just about average, but his free throws have gone up to 91, so he's almost an ATM at the line.
Yeah.
I mean, Damian Lillard has been impressive, and it's about time we kind of give him a recognition.
Yeah, so like you said, Steph Curry, I got to take him off the list. Just based on how many games he's missed this season, especially now that he's going to miss the entire rest of the regular season. I just can't, in all good consciousness, put him on there, right? And every part of me wants to put Damian Lillard on this list.
Okay.
I said it last week. I want to put him on there, but I can't.
Who are you going to put on there?
I got to put Chris Paul. I know he missed a good amount of games. I believe he missed 18 games to start the season. He's just been so good.
He's been good, but like you said, I mean, it would contradict what you're saying about Steph Curry.
Steph Curry is by the end of the season will have missed about 30 games, right? Which is a third of the entire NBA season. Chris Paul, I mean, he missed a good chunk, which is why I could never put him on the All-Star team, right? But he hasn't really missed any time since that injury. Maybe a game here and there, if any, right? But when you watch him in that Rockets offense, I've never seen somebody so comfortable in a scheme just like off the jump, right? And he's changed his game just a little bit where he shoots a little bit more than he ever did with the Clippers from behind the three-point line, but his passing is just like it's godlike, right? When he swings around the top of the key and throws those hook passes out to the corner, it's incredible. I love Dame Lillard. Like you said, maybe not a lot of people are going to pick him. He deserves it. I think so does Chris Paul. And honestly, if Steph Curry had only missed 18, 19 games, I would put him in over Chris Paul. It's just like, it's too many games, right? And like you said, I am contradicting myself with the injury thing, but I do think there's a cutting room floor essentially for this, where if you're kind of in that below 20 games stretch, I think you can make the cut if you're that good. Anything more than that, it's a little hard for me to put you on there. Next person, I'm going to go to the other forward position. Seeing as I'm not going to put any other Warriors other than this man, I got to put him on there. Kevin Durant, who's having his best two-way season ever. Defensively, I know he's missed some games too, not a ton. Defensively, easily his best year. Like, he's elevated his defensive game a ton. Kevin Durant, offensively, is Kevin Durant. He does a little bit of everything incredibly. I think he's really the saving grace of this team so far this season, with all the weirdness and injuries and stuff like that. You got to throw KD on there.
Yeah, KD's obviously another one for me that will make the list. The way he plays the game defensively now is miles and above what LeBron is now. Obviously, Kevin Durant has taken an initiative to play better defense, and it's never been his defense has been his issue. It's just we never really get to look at it as much because we're so amazed with the 7-foot tall player who can shoot jumpers like it's nobody's business. So Kevin Durant obviously is going to be the pick for me. He has obviously probably one of the best offensive games out there. He's putting about the average stats that he always puts out, and I think that's the reason why maybe some people would overlook him for maybe another player like Giannis, who's been playing great. But at the same time, Kevin Durant's been doing this for a long time, and I think the way that he's been helping this Warriors team, I think he deserves to be in the first All-NBA team.
Who's your last pick? Big guy on the team.
Big guy? I'm going to go with Anthony Davis here. I think this one's obvious. Another MVP contender for the NBA League. With Anthony Davis, he's averaging 28 now, 11 and 2.3 assists. I mean, the assists don't really matter as much for Anthony Davis, but the rebounding has gone up to where, it's better than it was a couple years ago. His free throws have gone up to 83, which means he's going to be shooting it at a better clip than he was previously, which is 79%. Anthony Davis has been up along with Boogie Cousins, because we can't forget about Boogie Cousins helping that team out. I think those two have really elevated the Pelicans to now where they're going to be making the playoffs, hopefully. If barring any, breakdown, which I don't think will happen. But this is going to be the first time in a while that Anthony Davis, he makes the playoffs. We'll see what he can do in there, and that'll probably determine how good of a season or a success this season was for him. But as of the regular season, Anthony Davis is my pick.
I'm going to stick with Anthony Davis too. Hard not to pick him. I do want to give some love to Joel Embiid. I mean, the fact that this man, it's the same thing with him. He hasn't played enough games, right? I think if he had played all the games and he didn't do the no back-to-back things, this would be a bigger discussion. But you got to give the man credit taking the 76ers, who have been in the mud for a decade, right? And then bringing them to the playoffs in his first season where he's actually played more. But it's Anthony Davis. Like, there's just no question about it. He's been absolutely insane in the second half of the season. He was great in the first half. But he's elevated every facet of his game, Yeah. And when you're already that good and you get that much better, it's hard not to include you on a team like this.
Yeah. But to be fair for Embiid, he hasn't missed as many games as Steph Curry and Chris Paul, who have both missed around 50 games.
Yeah, but my point is this: like, when you're comparing him with Anthony Davis.
I understand that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, just in terms of the games missed,
I definitely do agree. He's like, and I feel like he plays a lot more the second. Is he still doing no back-to-backs? I don't think he is.
No, I think they're still probably going to limit him in some things, but when the playoffs come,
there are no back-to-backs.
There's no back-to-backs.
He's playing every game in the playoffs. But some honorable shout-outs, right? Or just omissions. Obviously, you gotta talk about Kawhi Leonard, just for the fact that he hasn't played this season. Would have been an easy pick to make All-NBA first team. Giannis, for me, isn't going to make it just because his team isn't good enough. Like, they haven't won enough games. I think they're only 4 games over 500. That's not good enough in the East. I can't even think of any other. Kyrie, if he had played more, I just don't think he's been as good as James Harden or Steph, Chris Paul. He's been great, though.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You have any other people you want to talk about at all?
Just in terms of just shouting him out, like you said, Chris Paul would be on there for me. Around 53 games is what he's at right now, and along with Steph Curry. So I think those two will probably, depending on what happens, maybe they will get a second or third team.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think there's really any. Maybe Al Horford for second team. He's been playing pretty well. This is his best season that he's had. And this didn't just come from this is probably a little biased with the Celtic thing, but I think that with Al Horford, the way he plays, I think he could make at least a third NBA team.
Yeah, I'd love to see Oladipo on third team too. I think he really deserves it for the way he changed the Pacers organization for the better. Plus, he's an incredible two-way player too, so give the man some respect.